Few brands can claim to have a motorsport heritage as rich as Ferrari's. This weekend, a new chapter of the Scuderia's story will be written across the mountain as the latest branch of Ferrari's one-make series will be introduced at Bathurst. Welcome down under, Ferrari Challenge Australasia. But as you've probably figured out, that's not Bathurst. This is the Circuit of Monteblanco in southern Spain. I've been lucky enough to come here with Ferrari to acquaint myself with the brand new 296 Challenge before it arrives in Australia. And as you can probably tell, I haven't come here just to look at it.
Well, Ferrari Challenge actually started 32 years ago as an Italian series initially, and it very quickly morphed into a continental series with basically the birth of Ferrari Challenge Europe. And the big news for 2025 is the launch of Ferrari Challenge Australasia, starting in Bathurst. So we are all pretty excited about it. You know, obviously we are ready, we are open to entries from other championships, from other series, but it's really Ferrari's core strategy to bring the customers from Ferrari customers to Ferrari racers, and this is what we will try to do with Australia as well.
Bathurst will be the first of 5 stops that sees the tour visit Phillip Island, Sydney Motorsport Park and The Bend. The new 296 Challenge, the perfect weapon for the job, featuring a crisp 3-litre twin-turbo 6-cylinder that packs 700 horsepower. To help handle the power, 18% more downforce than its predecessor, thanks to an aero package derived from the 296 GT3 that'll feature in the 12-hour. Added to this, a completely redesigned ABS brake package featuring brake-by-wire and CCM R+, which is a carbon ceramic material used on the brake discs that has trickled down from Ferrari's Formula One technology. While this all sounds like a lot, the 296 Challenge has been designed for inexperienced racers, a category that I firmly fit into.
So what you are getting a few goes, like actually 3 sessions, so how lucky you are, of a few laps on 296 Challenge, together with our instructors from our coaching team, with all the telemetry, and basically you're getting a sort of a condensed experience of what our customers experience on the race Corso Pilota, that is the last of the 3 steps.
Wow, so here we go. First impressions of the Ferrari. Oh my God, wow. This is not only the first Ferrari race car I've driven, this is the first Ferrari I've ever driven. And you can feel the heritage, and wow, you can feel the grip. As for braking, feel this, ready? Bang! Down the gears, 2nd gear, late apex, turn it in. This car will do 260 kilometers per hour down the front straight down here in Spain. Cannot wait to see what it could do down Conrod Straight. Now it was time for some coaching and a chance to learn about how to extract more speed from the car and myself.
Go, 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 go. Braking hard. Transfer the brake. Good. Close the wheel and open it up. It's good. Excellent.
Between each session, we paused to look at telemetry, see where improvements could be made. The day became less about the car and more about the driver, with instructors getting just as much of a kick out of my improvements as I was getting, which is a real tribute to the Corso Pilota program.
Release the brake and carry the speed. Back on power, open up the steering. Excellent lap, very good. Beautiful.
We finished the day seeing exactly how the pros do it, before one final chance to drive the car solo, alone with my thoughts. All I could say is, wow, this has been such an amazing experience to get to know this car, to see what it's capable of, to sit with the instructors, analyze where I could be faster, analyze where my performance could be better, analyze where I could find more from this car. It's got so much more that I frankly can't give it, but this has been an incredible day here at Circuit Monteblanco, just outside of Seville here in Spain. Something I'll never forget, and as I get to pull up in pit lane one last time, I cannot wait to see this series launch here at Bathurst. It's going to be a lot of fun. And all I can say after doing that is, grazie Ferrari. Ferrari fans rejoice because we're not too far away from the second and final race of Ferrari Challenge Australasia, and they love the skid area in this part of the world, and there's a lot to enjoy here this weekend because the Ferraris have been putting on a show and we are set to go. Hello boys, we're ready in the commentary box in the red shirts. This is Renato Liberto, and alongside him is Tim Brook, and Tim does a lot of the driver coaching with the series. Renato does a lot of the management of the series. And there's been an ongoing joke, fellas, that I get all the good gigs here at the 12 hour, and I think driving the 296 is not going to do that argument any favours for me. That was a really cool experience, and I'm just so thankful to Ferrari and the Bathurst 12 hour for making that one possible. You guys know how to drive race cars, I don't, so I'll let you guys stick to talking about how to drive these things, but so far so good through the sessions that we've had. Great qualifying session this morning. We even got into the 207s for pole.
Yeah, it's an amazing pace of the team this morning, and everyone's super hyped for this race 2 today. Obviously, we run that quali 1, race 1 on first day, quali 2, race 2 today. So everyone's sort of been just championing the bit to get back out there and prove what they can do today.
Sausage rolls are getting handed out up in the Ferrari area, and the hospitality is all part of the amazing experience that you get when you work with Ferrari around the world. This is very much a global series. It started back in 1993 in Italy. It's expanded out to just about every corner now of the globe. This is the 5th series to join Europe, North America, UK and Japan. It's our very, very own. There was an Asia Pacific series which did run a few years back. Unfortunately didn't make it through the COVID period. But we did see Ferrari Challenge visit Albert Park as a support category to the Grand Prix with big healthy fields there. And looking forward to seeing how this series can grow. 5-round championship, Bathurst, Phillip Island, a couple of rounds at Sydney Motorsport Park. And then September it all wraps up at the Bend. And the lucky few might even get a chance to go compete at the Finale Mondiale at Mugello in October, and that is something to behold, I'm told, Renato.
It is, it's an amazing experience. Last year they had over 220 Ferrari Challenge cars at the event, running in multiple classes of all of the regions from around the world, and then kind of like almost a World Wrestling all-in brawl that happens as well. It's a fantastic event, and it really is the biggest and best thing that Ferrari does every year.
Now, if you've been watching the streaming of the Bathurst 12 hour, you may have seen yesterday's race, but if you've just joined the audience for the weekend, a quick recap, Tim, of what they may have missed yesterday through that first race, because it was hot at the front, and this very corner that we're looking at right now from the Repco Warcam is essentially where the race was won and lost.
Yeah, absolutely. Austrian Ernst Kirchmeier was leading the race. Wouldn't say comfortably at all. He was getting a lot of pressure from Antoine Gattani. And about lap 7, lap 8 in, he unfortunately came in a little bit faster than the previous lap into the cutting and made contact with the wall, and that saw him out of the race. So he had to sit out qualifying this morning, but he will make an appearance in this race from the rear of the grid. And it'll be actually quite interesting to see him see how far he can get through.
So there has been a bit of paddock news there, Ren.
And that's right. The big news from this is that Ernst was in car 99 yesterday. They had some issues this morning, still just before quali 2. They did park the car. We can't get that car resolved on site here. And amazingly, Rod Wilson, who was in the 44 car, the team principal of that team, has passed the car on to Ernst. So he'll be starting rear of grid in car 44 today.
Now that is a nice team boss right there. Well done, Rod. That's fantastic to see. So he's had a chance to play in these cars this weekend and learn a lot. Antoine Gattani has been the star of the show, starting from the pole. And there's Ernst Kirchmeier starting off the back. He's moved to the 44, the 99 out for the weekend. So the 14 cars ready to go around this awesome Mount Panorama venue. And they've been really creeping up on the speed so far this weekend. We've seen huge gains session to session. We saw that again earlier today in qualifying with Enzo Cheng, really the star of the show, getting pole in Copper Shell and really pushing Antoine Gattani to get into that 207 bracket. Right. And Jared Ferrari, yes, that is Jared Ferrari. We do have an Enzo at one end of the field and a Jared Ferrari at the other end of the field. And he's in the 488 starting on pole for that class. It's the older model Ferrari out there as well. So lots to play for in this last race. Can Antoine Gattani get the perfect weekend? That is what he's fighting for.
And Enzo's really shown his speed in that quali 2 this morning. Also Cameron Campbell, both Tim and I have seen some data. Cameron's the only driver to have gone completely flat through the chase up to this point in time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, completely flat through, and 2G under brakes, which is about the peak of what this car will do. Incredible effort by him, really extracting the performance out, sitting down with his coach, Josh Buchan, for a little time here. Obviously, Josh also running in the GTs this weekend for the 12 hour, coaching Campbell in between, really trying to make sure he can extract that performance for the whole lap. So look out for him from P5, as he's going to be on a charge trying to make his way through as well.
Nice. Campbell is going to do the entire series, I'm told, which is why he decided to move away from doing the 12-hour this weekend, focus on doing this one as well.
And if the roll-up does look a little odd, Ernst off the rear of the grid does need to leave that 15th spot free on the grid, as that car has been withdrawn from there. So there will be a gap on the grid alongside him, rolling up for the start.
So lined up and ready to go as Ferrari Challenge Australasia greets Mount Panorama Race 2. Can Gattani get the perfect weekend?
Board start, second formation lap, formation lap.
Race control unhappy with the lineup. So we're going to send them around again and cue them up once more. I think a few drivers are a little unsure if they're inside or outside of the grid.
Okay.
That's right. That's our driving standards advisor, Steve Owen, will be kind of keeping an eye on that. But definitely those cars should have been 2x2.
Yeah, so we'll send him around for one more lap under the formation lap, and Gattani will cue him up on the other side, ready to go green. So, disappointment. Obviously, that'll mean one less lap. As we check out how they were lining up, we saw some confusion around the restart yesterday, and these are just little procedural things that new race car drivers will get used to.
That's right. I mean, they should have their engineers and coaches in their ear at this point in time on radio, calling them into those positions, but it just looks like they're off row 3. That might be David Fresh, who was sitting behind instead of alongside.
Well, he got punted at turn 1 yesterday, so he was maybe just a little bit afraid to be on the outside of the road again. It didn't work out too nicely for him yesterday. He had a little spin in qualifying, but did a really nice job of keeping it running and got back under green flag conditions. We were talking earlier about the 296, brand new race car. It's had 1 year of running in other parts of the world. Now we see it here for the first time. It steps up from the 488 Evo, the 9th model of Ferrari Challenge car to be introduced into Ferrari Challenge Trofeo Pirelli around the world, dating back to 1993. The good news is it's also the most powerful, which is interesting because it's the first one to run a V6 engine and not a V8. Helps that it's got 2 big turbos on it.
That's right. And where it differs from the road car, which many people might think is a little bit different, being it's a race car, it doesn't have the hybrid system. So the road car does have that hybrid powertrain, and they're giving it 800 horsepower. They have dropped that system out of the race car, so it is just V6 twin turbo. But still, 700 horsepower is a healthy number to have in any race car.
Absolutely, to go with the 740 Newton meters of torque that come with it. We'll send him around one more time. Steve Owen is our driving standards observer for this series. We saw a quick shot of him up in race control, helping the drivers find their position in the lineup. He spent a bit of time driving this car at the Bend at a media day where guests were invited to come and go for a hot lap in the car, as well as just check it out and learn a little bit more about the vehicle. Filippo Zanieri was flown down for that one as well. He's Ferrari's Challenge Business Development Manager. Antonello Coletto is also here this weekend, Global Head of Endurance and Corsa Clienti as well, which is pretty much everything Ferrari outside of the Formula One universe. Exactly, is the easiest way of explaining that. So that's also a job for him this weekend, to keep an eye on the 2 GT3 296s that are running this weekend in the Bathurst 12-hour. Rolling down Skyline, get them lined up. Hopefully a chance to go racing. Second time of asking for Ferrari Challenge Australasia. They roll back down the hill. Antoine Gattani, top of practice 1, pole in both the qualifying sessions, and a race 1 win. There is just one more session for him to finish P1 in, and that is not a bad debut race meeting if he can do it.
That's right. And Chad, probably the one thing just watching the cars roll through here was obviously off the rear of the grid. We spoke about Kirkmeyer. He had pace in race 1. He was at the top of the timesheets throughout most of Quali 1. Starting off the rear of grid and having this extra lap just gives him a little more time to get his eye in with this car that he's only jumped in just before race 2 here. But probably more importantly as well, the clock's running. He's only got 21 minutes here to try and work his way through the field and try and rein in Antoine. So it is going to make that effort from the rear of grid that much harder for him as well.
Yeah, you're right. That extra lap, he probably really needed that. He debuted back in 2018, the Austrian. Another little box to tick to say that he's raced in the Australasian Championship, a 2-time series winner, 7 seasons of experience for Ernst Kirkmeyer in now car number 44, not 99. But he's also raced in some endurance racing as well, so a podium at the 2024 Abu Dhabi 6-hour to go with his experience in this category. So a lot of racing experience across those 7 years that he's been ticking up. And when you put him out there against a group of drivers who are very much at the beginning of their motorsport journey, the opening few laps here for Ernst Kirkmere could be box office as he goes picking through the field.
Absolutely. We can see the cars now forming up into that second line. So our race director, Anthony Jenkins, should hopefully be a bit more of a smile on his face this lap, and we might hopefully go green on this time by.
Here we go. So we'll line them up this time. Catani and Cheng on the front row. Treverne and Policina on row number 2. Campbell has been so quick down through Conrad on the chase alongside Frisch. Ferrari on pole in the 488. Starting out of position number 8. This time it looks good all the way to the green flag. It gets the nod from race control. Race 2, round 1, the first ever event here at Mount Panorama for Ferrari Challenge Australasia. And the green is ready to go. We go lights out on racing down towards turn 1. Cheng wants to argue the point for the race lead. He goes around the outside of Catani, can't hold it there. And now Treverne might fight his way into this discussion with Jim Policina as well, who go running up Mountain Straight for the first time.
Jared Ferrari in the 277 car, first 488, really punching above his weight here. Had a really good look up the inside and probably thought about holding back for that turn 1, but he's absolutely in the mix now, kind of in the top 6 cars.
He's aggressive on the outside from Cheng. He wanted the lead, now he's back in third as Jim Policina does blast his way through to second. A lot of racing experience here at Mount Panorama. Typically in old school muscle cars, and this is a different change of scenery for him. Further back in the field, let's see how far Kirkmare's got. He's up to 12th already. So we go back to Tony Baldwin, but it's going to be difficult to pass cars across this part of the racetrack for the Austrian.
It's quick here. We saw yesterday in race one, we saw one of the cars, Manu Nikiantha, had a bit of a moment over there at McPhillamy. You know, a lot of aerodynamics in these cars. It is hard to follow. There is disturbed air behind, so it does make this middle sector that much harder to pass. But obviously the drive off the corners for the long straights here is where you want to try and set this up. And a lot of the coaches have been talking about the racecraft involved as well.
Part of the learning experience as we go across the top for the first time. Tani was pushed all the way in race 1. Right up behind the back of Kirkmare's car. He's passed both Mark Hutters and Baby Kai, as well as Tony Baldwin on this opening lap. Cheng's car just for a moment there. I was wondering if it was going to turn in at the elbow. He's got Campbell in behind him. He's been the most committed through the chase. So is it possible for Cameron Campbell in the 23 to reel him in here?
And also Jared Ferrari in P5, just waiting behind as well. He might be able to pick up a couple of scraps here. If they get in each other's way and kind of hold each other up, Jared Ferrari might actually close in. It is a mammoth effort for him to be in P5 at the moment, running in the 488 challenge.
Jim Policina, 292 kilometres per hour through the chute down towards the chase. Campbell got close to the back of Cheng's car, but not quite close enough to make the move stick down there. And there is Ferrari, Jared Ferrari, that is, from Perth. Connected to Barbagallo Ferrari over in Western Australia. Familiar name with motorsport on the West Coast. As the move is on further back in the field, and now he's got a wriggle on. These are the moments where he needs to maximise down in the last couple of corners.
Inside the top 10 now, phenomenal first lap from him. And as you said, a seasoned campaigner in these cars, still coming to grips with the track a little bit from day one. But probably the other thing is as well, now he's got some clean air. He can really reel in those front cars without so much traffic to kind of work through, and hopefully pick off those cars one by one as he works his way through the middle sector on this lap.
Tim, we saw in qualifying that mid-pack battle from 3rd down to about 9th. There was not a lot separating those drivers.
No, it was quite tight, wasn't it? And that was the talk back in the paddock after qualifying between all the drivers, was just all about getting track position at the start. And we saw from Jim Policina, quite seasoned, as you mentioned, he really did set up Enzo there to try and get a run up Mountain Straight and move himself into position 2.
Ren, talk us through this move from Enzo Cheng on the outside of turn 1.
Yeah, it's very hard visibility-wise as well when there's a car alongside you. Steve Owen did talk about that overlap. We're using the driver's mirror as the overlap because the visibility is quite tight. He did have a little bit of a sniff there, but I think he erred on the side of caution. But what that's done is just fed him straight into the path of Policina there to get that, David Schwern there to get that move done nice and neatly around the outside at turn 2.
Yeah, this is way too much experience for a guy like Policina who's raced a lot of cars here. So able to cruise on through, but he's not sticking with Antoine Gattani. Have you had a chance to look at any of his data this weekend, Tim, and what Antoine's been doing?
Yeah, I have, mate, and some of what I'm seeing is actually quite impressive for Antoine. That's not necessarily inexperienced, but hasn't done a huge amount of racing, as we've mentioned. And yeah, compared to some of the other guys, a lot of what we're seeing with Antoine is just the confidence, a bit like Ernst, is confidence that they have under braking. And it's a shame that Rod Wilson isn't out here. I'll go back to Rod because on the braking, I was talking to Rod, and he's driven everything from a V8 Ute to a Formula 1 car. And he said that he's never lost his tummy under braking as much as he has this weekend with this car. He said you still get that feeling on acceleration, but he said under braking is what's truly amazed him, just how well these cars are pulling up.
And that perfect example there by Ernst of how good these cars brake. I mentioned before 2G, but with the CCMR, the carbon ceramic braking system that these cars have and fly-by-wire pedal, it really gives the car a lot of bite at the end of braking, not just at the start as well. So it does maintain an incredible amount of braking and speed reduction throughout those long brakes in these long straights here.
Yeah, and it stays consistent due to the electronic aids that it's got with that fly-by-wire throughout the course of the stint as well. And I wonder if that fly-by-wire braking is actually what's helping Antoine Gattani. You talk about his confidence under braking. He hasn't driven a host of race cars before, so he won't notice how different this brake pedal does feel to a lot of other race cars.
That's right, and that's the big thing with a car like this. It is accessible to both ends of the spectrum, the people on the way into race cars, but also on the way out of challenge and say into the GT3 program with Ferrari. So it does give people that confidence to push the car with ABS and traction control to really kind of learn the limits of the car at any level.
2 minute 10.5, his fastest lap of the race so far. So we do know he's got a little bit more in the tank, but he's also probably got a full tank right now as well, and the extra formation lap's not going to help that either.
And a 3.5 second gap at the moment. Just a nice, healthy lead there. Pollicina, there's another 3/10 he's just picked up on Pollicina as well. But what we are seeing is that gap between Pollicina and Cheng is closing now. So Enzo's obviously got the race face on, and he's really starting to close him in. And with 13 minutes to go, I think there's probably a chance that we're going to have a bit of a battle for the extra step of the podium.
Yeah, and for Enzo's point of view here, he is comfortably ahead of Dave Treverne in Copper Shell, which is the more amateur-style class that we have within the race. So how much does he want to push and fight the bigger guys? You also don't want to go too fast and potentially get yourself bumped up a class or as well when we get to the next round at Phillip Island, because they do have the power to do that within Ferrari Challenge if they feel like you're not quite in the right class of driver.
And that class is sort of easily seen by the red banner we see on screen there. The red banner is for our Trofeo Pirelli drivers, our more experienced drivers in the 296 cars. The yellow banner is for Copper Shell 296, and then the blue is our 488 Trofeo Pirelli.
Beautifully explained. Great to have the 3 different classes and some of the older cars out there as well. Antoine Gattani doing a beautiful job out the front. That lead is 4.5 seconds at the moment. The gap between Pollicina and Cheng sitting at 1.6 seconds. Nearly a 3-second gap back to Campbell, who's still sitting comfortably ahead of Jared Ferrari, and that mid-pack has spread out slightly more. Not a bad fight back further in the pack with Taguchi, Hudders, and Baby Kai further down the order as well. There's 14 car field. Unfortunately lost a couple here this weekend, including Manu Nithyanantha, who found the fence at McPhillamy, and the ongoing problems from the 44 yesterday, the cutting for the 99 meant that he's in the 44 today. But unfortunately, the dismay of Rob Wilson, team principal, stepping out of his Garmin Autosport entry to let Kirkmeyer have a crack this weekend. Purple sector this time for Antoine Gattani, so he's going on with it.
Despite the 5-second gap, he's got the second place. He might have a point to prove here. He's already got the lap record, but maybe that's not enough for him. He wants to improve it that little bit more.
This would be the Grand Slam of Grand Slams, wouldn't it? If he was able to put them all together this weekend. All 5 sessions, plus lap records, winning from pole.
Clear some space on the bookshelf when he gets home, I think.
Yeah, absolutely, because he's picked up 1 trophy for yesterday. That's another thing worth mentioning as well, that we do have separate podiums for each class, but then also podiums after each race as well. So trophies galore at the end of this one. And you get the feeling that for Antoine, he's earned his so far this weekend, but needs to bring it home. He's up 1 second on the field just to the second sector alone on this lap. So has a lot of speed, quickest in every sector so far. 52.3 for sector 1. Done 37.1 across the top. 40.8 seconds to get down from the hill to the control line in sector 3. Driving this car fabulously at the moment, leading now by 6 seconds. What are you seeing, Tim, from the commentary box, harder to pick exactly how he's driving this car, but what are you seeing that he's doing so well at the moment?
Look, I mean, it baffles me a little bit, to be honest, just how incredible he's going, you know, like he's making very little mistakes and still punching out purple sectors as we see. And maybe talking to him, maybe even keeping a little bit up his sleeve, you know, with a 6 to 7 second gap. You know, he doesn't really need to be pushing that hard. Just manage the gap and bring it home and fill the trophy cabinet up at home once more.
So Enzo Cheng bagged himself an 8 in qualifying earlier today. Maybe not quite as happy with a full tank of fuel in that car.
That's right, and that's something they've been playing with a little bit. We've got a little bit of room to move on the weight of these cars into the minimum weight, so most teams are running the cars over the scales regularly just to see where they're at for this first round, to really understand the fuel consumption at a place like Bathurst where we haven't run these cars before. So weight definitely does play a picture here. You know, you are climbing a mountain, as we say here,
yep.
And every kilo you can take out of the car in some way does make a difference. So for sure that will be playing on him as well.
As again, Gattani is quick through that first sector. Back down to Tony Balden, lapping in the 2:21. So he's been finding entire seconds in between his qualifying performances so far this weekend. So huge amounts of room for improvement for these drivers, which is cool to see.
I think the driver with the biggest smile on his face as well. Tony's absolutely loving it.
Absolutely. Living his dream this weekend, as you can imagine. A lot of these drivers entering into motorsport for the first time. So to sector 1 on this lap, as Gattani leads Pollicina and Cheng here with 9 minutes remaining. Enzo Cheng was able to close slightly on Jim Pollicina in that fight for second. So maybe as the fuel load comes off that car, he's getting a little bit more confidence. He got half a second just in sector 1, and they were very even across the top, just a thousandth of a second separating them through the middle sectors. Now the gap down to 1 second. Is he close enough to potentially have a crack at second place? Like I said earlier, leading Papa Shell, so getting in there with the Trofeo Pirelli drivers is more about a matter of pride at this point.
You can see him running a fair bit deeper on the brakes there, so he's really trying to close that gap and probably start putting some pressure on. But again, someone seasoned like Pollicina, I don't expect to probably get too worried about the pressure behind him. He's got a pretty level head on him here, but depends if he's fighting a car that's not working too well in these hotter conditions as well. He might actually have his hands full inside that car. So we'll see what happens when he closes the gap here. As we know, it's hard to overtake over the top, but also Enzo's pushing very, very hard, and obviously here to make a point.
Further up the road, Gattani goes 2 minutes 10.2. Now, the one thing he hasn't got was yesterday's race lap record, which was set before the crash of Ernst Kirkmare. So at 2:09.7 the time to beat. He's half a second off it. I wonder if maybe he's getting the intrusive thoughts and thinking, I've won everything else this weekend. Can I possibly leave this venue with the lap record as well?
He's starting to get a little bit greedy, isn't he?
Yeah.
Just wants everything. And there's nothing wrong with that at the end of the day, but hence why we're still seeing purple sectors from him. He's obviously might have that in the back of the mind, maybe the engineer saying you're pretty close to that lap record, so let's put the icing on the cake.
The last thing to chuck in his trophy cabinet for the weekend. To do it though, he's going to have to really commit across the top. Those last few laps, it's probably just been the difference between being on lap record speed or being in the low 2-minute 10s at the moment.
Across the top's probably the last place where you really want to overcommit when you're leading the race by such a margin as well. So it's a catch-20 there.
A really wide entrance coming into the elbow, which give him a great exit. So we'll see what sort of speed he's got. Meanwhile, Jim Pollicina sets a combined purple sector, and the gap down to just now 7 seconds. So can they start to reel in the race later with 7 minutes to go? It might be too much, but he's starting to find some speed here. And Cheng into the 2-minute 10s, which is matching Gattani's speed. So the 7 second gap probably isn't representative of where the race pace is between the front three now.
That's right, and looking at the attitude of the car as well, you can still see he is pushing it harder. You can see that initial brake pressure in the car where the car pitches forward, the little wriggle in the rear, the ABS starting to fire. He's still on it, as Tim said, and I think he really is going to try and push to get that lap record in the bag before the end of this race.
So 2:11.2 last time by, and for the first time in the entire race, Pollicina's quicker as Ferrari sets the quickest middle sector of the race. 37.0 in the older model car. It's got 18% less downforce, and in the downforce sector, he's just gone quicker than the field.
He's certainly brave. I watched some of his footage this morning with his driver coach, Lachlan Manif, and yeah, I was impressed. I really was. Having pedalled those cars around here before, for someone who hasn't spent a lot of time driving around, you know, in these cars, as well as being at Bathurst, It was an impressive middle sector from him, that's for sure. I didn't expect to see him go quickest of everyone, but it means there is some grip out there. There is some performance in the track.
He's very, very fast. This is Cameron Campbell, I believe, in the 23, climbing the mountain. He's sitting comfortably in 4th as he tries to reel in a fighting pair ahead of him, Policina and Cheng, still separated by half a second. This is exciting down to turn 1. Oh, just pulling out of that move.
That's let Mark Hutters catch up on the back of Masahiro now as well, so that might be a... We were talking about this battle before. Whilst there are, we're working in sort of just outside the top 10, their gap is very, very close here, and their lap times are very similar. So we might have a little tussle going on in the bottom end, which is actually for podium in shell class.
Yeah, nice. And for where we've got Chris Wang at the moment sitting in 9th, there's this entire battle pack all together. So Huang, Frisch, Taguchi, Hutters, Kai, all in there together. We've got 4 nationalities represented in this field, Australia and Austria. We've talked plenty about that. We've got 2 drivers representing Japan, although one which lives here in Australia, that would be Taguchi. Baby Kai, a visitor here, has raced here at Albert Park as well before in Australia. And then China covered as well with Chris Huang, who actually does live here in Australia as well. So plenty of variety on the grid. This time by, seeing a bit more speed at the front of the field. Gattani, 129.3. It's just that middle sector, 37.1.
There we go, 209.5. Sorry, 209.7 there for Antoine Gattani. That middle sector still not as quick as what Jared Ferrari's done. Jim Policina, though, going quick.
I just saw Timmy Brook wince because he was looking at that lap time from Gattani and how tantalisingly close it was to the lap record.
So close, so close. He was probably quite relieved as he's come over the line there, thinking he may have got the job done, but now he has to go again one more time.
This is Kirkmare on Treverne, trying to get through for 6th position. So lap record is a 209.77. That was a 209.78 from Gattani. So he's missed it by a literal blink of the eye. He's got a little bit of time left. Can he push on the lighter fuel load? As that Pirelli tyre and a hot day here at Bathurst got it in it to be quick towards the end. Not a lot of cloud cover on the racetrack at the moment, but here he comes anyway. What's this first sector time? 32.3. So he's in the ballpark. He's 2/10 down sector 1. How committed does he want to be across the top?
You can just hear on the audio then, just that little lift, 5th gear there. I think it's about 215 k's an hour, Tim, when you're looking at the data. Very, very quick. Taking a lot of curb there as well now. Through the dipper, 3rd gear, straight into 4th gear. He really is pushing that car hard. We'll see if that's reflected in our sector here, because I think he's only going to get 2 more laps of this.
Yes. That's a really wide entrance into the elbow. Swings it in, maximising the exit. Last time through, all by himself, I might add, 294 clicks. Now he certainly did find something through the middle, and you were not wrong. What you were seeing was translating in the timing screen, and now he's in the ballpark of the lap record. Under it to that 2nd sector. Can he finish the lap? Cloud cover down here will help.
So that front splitter close to the ground, they're generating a huge amount of downforce, particularly coming into the chase there. Really working hard. Let's see if he can translate this into a... Well,
he's got time attack experience through Club Challenge, and that's what this is turning into at the front of the field. 209.77 to beat. This time through, lap record by 0.4 of a second. He's growing in confidence. And will that be it now? Will he put the cue back on the rack and consolidate his 10-second lead? Further back, Enzo Cheng in hot pursuit of Jim Policina, leading the way in Copper Shell. I'm trusting that that car's going to turn out. I did see him in the background of the shot down Conrad. So thankfully okay and able to continue. And I wonder if that's a little warning sign for him that maybe it's best to just let Jim Policina drive up the road.
And he's still top step of our Copper Shell podium, so he still comes away with the silverware.
Yep.
And he's obviously lost touch to the back of Policina now with only 1:38 remaining, plus 1 lap in this race. I think at this point in time, you'd hope he just sort of just brings it home safely.
I wonder if they're brave enough to tell Ernst Kirkmare that he's just had his lap record stolen from him, and if he would like to rectify that in the last 90 seconds of the race. It's not the car that he has driven this weekend, so it might not be completely to his setup and liking. The other thing you'll need is some clean racetrack. He hasn't had a lot of it so far in this race.
And that's a textbook pass there on David Trewern. He's already plucked Jared Ferrari now, so he's moved up into 5th place from rear of grid's a fantastic effort. I don't think he's going to have the time, though. He's got 7.5 seconds to gain on Cameron Campbell here. I don't think he's quite going to do that in 2 laps.
No, but it will give him some clear road for a potential fastest lap of the race on the last lap. And just as we say it, Tim points at the timing screen because he's just set the quickest first sector of the race.
Yeah, I thought this lap might be interesting as he got clear there just into the cutting, that we might really see what Ernst is made of. He's got to be comfortable with the car now, and let's see what he can do across the middle sector here.
2:09.3, the lap record set by Antoine Gattani, 4/10 quicker. This time by it's not going to be a lap record for Antoine. He was a full second slower across the top, so he's just bagging that risk for now. That's the gap back to Cheng in 3rd that you can see. Policina stuck in the chase at the moment, 10 seconds behind the leader, who's just going to get to the start-finish line before the checkered flag with 8 seconds to go. So he'll be starting the last lap of the race this time by. The driver to watch is the driver in 5th place, Ernst Kirchmayr, the Austrian, who just had his lap record snatched away from him. At this point, it's looking like being the only thing he's going to take back to Europe with him. Can he do it? Here he comes right now. The lap record would mean a lot right now after yesterday's incident. 2:09.3, the time to beat. Change of car today. Can the 44 get in there? On the timing screen he goes. 2:09.5, he goes under yesterday's record, but misses out of the time set by Antoine Gattani.
Do you think Rod might take this lap record as his if Ernst does set it, given it's in his car?
Yeah.
Rod had the gun set up in the car, maybe.
I wonder if it's to his liking right now. He doesn't be comfortable, particularly in sectors 1 and 2, where he nearly set the quickest middle sector of the race. Have a look at this fight. Queuing up behind Chris Huang at the moment in his 4.88. Frisch, Taguchi and Hudders all together.
And looking at lap times, Chris may have had a moment in that last lap for them to close up a little bit, because they are running about half a second off the back of him in lap pace, but obviously closing in as a pack here, and with basically a lap or so to go, I think we might have a bit of a change here, moving these guys inside the top 10.
Interesting that we see Mark Hudders in P12 here. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he started in position 8. So he's dropped a few spots, and he was our champion from last year in the Club Challenge event. So we're normally used to seeing him towards the higher up end of the grid as such. So something might have happened that we haven't caught on screen.
Looks very in control here, though. Sets a lap record, and there's a big gap in front of him. Let's hope he hasn't gone purple again this lap, so I think he may have backed it off a little bit at this point, which is he's got a safe 8-second margin in the second place.
Yep, he's got everything going his way this weekend. He'll be wondering why he didn't start motor racing a little earlier in his life, because he's clearly good at it. Quickest in every session so far this weekend. Got both the poles. He's going to get both the race wins and the lap record to boot. Antoine Gattani has had the perfect weekend in round number 1. Ferrari Challenge Australasia, congratulations, winning as well in his Pirelli class. Jim Policina home for second, a pair of podiums for him. And in Copper Shell, we'll wait for Enzo Cheng. Here he comes, converting his pole to victory in the Copper Shell. Campbell will get some silverware here, 3rd in his first weekend in the category as well. Ernst Kirchmayr, great drive too, 4th in class and 5th outright. Jared Ferrari, first home in the 4.88. He will win his class as well in car number 277. So well done to the West Aussie. That's how it looks after 30 minutes of action. Race 2 and the championship lead to go with it for Antoine Gattani. And Jim Policina's got some work to do at Phillip Island round 2 if they're going to rein in the fast New South Welshman. And well done to Rod Wilson stepping aside to let Ernst Kirchmayr have his fun. Thank you, boys. Love the action so far this weekend. That wraps up round number 1 of Ferrari Challenge Australasia. Well, the fight for the Pirelli pole battle is going to follow up the Ferraris here today. And on the way out to the break, no one enjoys a good rig more than John Hindhaugh, so we've sent him out to check out the Shannon Super Rig.
Race week ends at Bathurst in Harris Park. There's always something special going on. And with due deference to this Toyota, this is not